Hi everyone! Number 4. The End of the Beginning. 1,000 years ago, on the wild, wind-lashed edge of the known world, a handful of Norse explorers stepped onto North American soil. They built, they hunted, they survived, and then they vanished. This is the story of LAnseAuxMeadows, not just an archaeological site, but a portal, a window into a lost world and the people who dared to live in it. The saga begins around the year 1000 AD, when the North Atlantic teemed with longships, and daring Norsemen roamed farther than any before them. Led by a man named Bjorn, these explorers set sail westward from their base in Greenland, chasing whispers of a distant land filled with unimaginable riches. After weeks at sea, they landed on the shores of a vast forest-studded bay. Birch trees, timber, meadows ripe with berries. They named this place Vinland, the good or beautiful land. And right here on its coast, they established one of history's most unlikely settlements. Now let's go back. Let's spin the clock back 1,000 years, because what we find here doesn't look like this. So this is what the archaeologists found. This is where the longhouses stood. Right here. This is where the blacksmith workshop was. This is where the docks were. There are traces of animal pens and storage pits and cooking areas and the remnants of a well. And right beside the well, the very spot where the Vikings first stepped ashore. Imagine the wind whipping across your face, crashing waves and the cries of gulls. The smell of salt and sky and time itself pressing close. Here in this wild, wind-lashed place, the Vikings built life on the edge. How did they do it? Well, we turn back again, back to the past. This is the story of survival at the edge, life in a frozen frontier. Now let's imagine what it was like when the Vikings first arrived, because this wasn't just land. It was a larder. Thick forests for timber, rivers bursting with fish, meadows ripe with cloudberries and crowberries. The air, crisp, cold, alive. But compare it to now, and the difference is staggering. Climate shifts, deforestation, human expansion. The wilderness the Norse relied on has been rewritten irrevocably. When the Vikings arrived, winter didn't whisper. It roared. Temperatures plunged. Snow buried paths. Food vanished. Every day was a battle against cold, against hunger, against isolation. No stores, no GPS, no backup. Just iron, fire, and grit. And so they built turf walls homes, smelter tools from bog iron, hunted seals with bone harpoons. They adapted, coaxing life from the raw materials around them. But then there were the Skrælings, the indigenous peoples already here. First contact, trade, or terror. The sagas speak of conflict and fear. Was it this that sealed their fate? Survival, not glory. Let's move forward again. The world moves forward. In the span of a few short decades, two great disasters struck. The first was a fire that swept through the settlement, leveling longhouses and workshops. The second was the ocean itself rising up, drowning the shoreline and reshaping the landscape forever. Now, it's hard to say which was worse, because one wiped out their homes, and the other, their lifeline to the sea. With their fleet destroyed, supplies dwindled, and hope, they turned their thoughts back to Greenland, back to safety, back to home. Perhaps some stayed behind, but all the evidence points to one conclusion. Around the year 1025, most of the Norse abandoned Vinland, leaving behind a legacy of mystery and a landscape forever altered. In the centuries since, nature reclaimed this place, softened the scars of human industry, and woven the echoes of the Vikings into its fabric. So as we stand here amidst the ruins, amidst the grass, we're really standing on a threshold between two worlds, the Norse world and ours. We can see their footprint in the bedrock. We can read their story in the shifting sands of time. Yet somehow, despite the passage of 1,000 years, the spirit of exploration, the hunger for discovery, remains unchanged. What will we find when we dig deeper? What stories will surface from the silence of the soil? Who knows? Perhaps a gene, a story, a tool traded, a child born, traces of the past whispering in our present. We turn forward again to the 21st century. Today, this place is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a protected sanctuary, a tribute to the courage of those who first dared to dream beyond the horizon. LAnseAuxMeadows speaks to us across the ages. It tells us of the resilience of the human spirit, the relentless march of progress, and the quiet dignity of lives lived on the edge. Imagine for a moment the weight of the world on your shoulders, the chill of an uncertain future, the struggle to carve a life from the unforgiving wilderness. These are the stories that breathe beneath the soil of LAnseAuxMeadows, stories of ambition, of adaptation, of unbreakable resolve. How did they eat here at LAnseAuxMeadows? Well, forget feasts of mead and roast boar. Here, dinner was what you could catch or find. Cloudberries in summer, dried cod in winter, seal blubber for fat. Every calorie earned. No imports, no preservatives, no plan B. When the fish didn't run, you starved. When the snow didn't melt, you froze. Today, we summoned food with an app. Then you summoned it with your hands and hope. Hunger was the true ruler of Vinland. As we continue our journey through time, it's important to remember that the world we inhabit today is built on layers of stories. Each of these places has a past, a living memory embedded in the soil, etched in stone, and whispered in the wind. Our next stop takes us to a place where the earth itself seems to sigh with the weight of ages past, where the stories of yesterday resonate with the questions of today. Join me as we uncover the echoes of a bygone era and discover the enduring legacy of humanity's journey through time. The Vikings didn't just leave North America. North America left them behind. The world moved on. They didn't. As the centuries spun their web, new kingdoms rose and fell. New trade routes opened and closed. The very map of the world shifted, yet LAnseAuxMeadows remained, steadfast, silent. It watched as glaciers sculpted the coastline, as forests marched and retreated, as animals roamed and vanished. It saw new life take hold, witnessed the rise of nations and the ebb and flow of cultures. Through it all, it kept its vigil, a faithful sentry on the edge of time. Yet the most curious thing about this place is that even as it stood as silent witness to the passage of ages, it never truly left the human imagination. For better or worse, the sagas of Vinland captured the human spirit of exploration, the thirst for adventure, and the relentless curiosity that drives us to venture into the unknown. Like threads in a tapestry, the stories of LAnseAuxMeadows and the Vikings are woven into the fabric of our collective memory. They remind us of our shared history, the connections that bind us across time, and the enduring power of the human story. In the end, perhaps the greatest legacy of LAnseAuxMeadows lies not in what we find beneath the soil, but in what we carry within our hearts, the spirit of exploration, the thirst for adventure, and the relentless curiosity that drives us to venture into the unknown. For it is in the pursuit of these dreams that we truly discover what it means to be human. So why did they leave? The settlement worked. The resources were there. But something broke. Was it the cold, the conflict, the crushing loneliness of being 3,000 miles from home? Did they leave traces behind? A gene, a story, a tool traded, a child born? Science searches, but silence remains. Yet their legacy isn't in what they built, but in what they dared to cross an ocean, to face the unknown, to fail and still be remembered. They came, they saw, they left. But they were here. LAnseAuxMeadows isn't just ruins in the grass. It's a mirror. It shows us how much the world has changed and how little the human spirit has. Courage, curiosity, fragility, all still here beneath our feet. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time. Remember, history breathes beneath the soil. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to share. Your support helps bring more historical tales to life. Until next time, keep exploring